What's up, everybody? This is Mario, and I'm back with another episode of the Endurify Your Life podcast. And it's a beautiful morning today in Florida. I just finished up my morning run, and this time it was on the beach, and it was just, about 3.3 miles, but just so nice being on the beach and just feeling so grateful and lucky that I'm not back in Iowa in the 15 to 20 degree weather. And I'm feeling good because today is the best day ever. And that's the day before you leave for vacation. So it's Wednesday. I'm going to be working remotely like I have been since we've been here. But then basically just going to take the rest of the year off and come back refreshed and recharged for early January. We've got a lot of exciting things going on at work, and I'm super excited about it. But I'm also just really looking forward to just relaxing, spending that quality time, and being with family. So we do also have some fun things planned today. Our company, every year we have a tradition where and they refer to me as Papa Mario, I read "'Twas the Night Before Christmas" to the whole company. And we usually do this little gift exchange, but since everybody's remotely, we're not going to be able to do that. But it's something just kind of fun that we have going on today that I'm looking forward to. And anyways, speaking of that, one of my coworkers actually shared a podcast with me 2 days ago that's called Finding Mastery by Michael Gervais. And he is a performance psychologist, and he works with some of the best athletes, some of the top corporate leaders, and some of the biggest organizations in the world. And he works with them on their performance, on their mindset, and on, taking research-backed principles and applying it to that context. And he just interviewed one of my favorite authors, which is James Clear, who's the author of Atomic Habits. I'm a huge believer in habits and the power of habits and how it all comes down to, defining where do you want to go, and then kind of asking yourself that question of what are the consistent habits that I need to start to develop to live into that and to become that person that I want to be. And in the podcast, Michael Gervais asked James Clear to tell him a story about something that he found in his research that was quite unexpected but powerful. And what he did is he told a story of the British cycling team. And so in 2003, the British cycling team made a big decision, and they hired a new performance director, and his name was Dave Brailsford. And this was back in 2003, and at the time, professional cyclists in Great Britain had basically been mediocre for 100 years. And since 1908, the British riders had won just a single gold medal at the Olympic Games. And they had done even worse in the biggest race in cycling, which is the Tour de France, because in 110 years, no British cyclist had ever won the event. And they were so bad that one of the biggest bike manufacturers in Europe refused to sell bikes to the British cycling team because they were afraid that it would hurt sales if other professionals saw that the British cycling team was using their gear. That's how bad it was. But Brailsford was hired to put the British cycling team on a whole new path. And what made him different from other coaches was his commitment to a strategy that he referred to as the aggregation of marginal gains, which is kind of this philosophy of searching for a tiny margin of improvement in everything that you do. So a tiny margin of improvement in everything that you do. And Brailsford said the whole principle came from the idea that if you broke everything you could think of that goes into riding a bike and then improve it by 1%, you will get a significant increase when you put them all together. So this is just an example of the 1% better mindset every single day. And so what Brailsford and the other coaches started by doing is just making small adjustments that you would kind of expect from a professional cycling team. So they redesigned bike seats to make them more comfortable, and they rubbed alcohol on the tires for better grip. Okay, that makes sense. Then they asked the riders to wear electrically heated shorts to maintain ideal muscle temperature when riding. And then they used biofeedback sensors to monitor how each athlete responded to a particular workout. Okay, that kind of makes sense, monitoring their workout. Then they tested different fabrics in a wind tunnel, and they had outdoor riders switch to indoor racing suits, which proved to be lighter and more aerodynamic. That one also makes sense. But they didn't stop there, because they tried to find 1% improvements in every area, in some of these areas that were unexpected and overlooked. So they tested different massage gels to see which one led to the fastest muscle recovery. This one is one of my favorites. They then also hired a surgeon to teach each rider the best way to wash their hands to reduce the chances of catching a cold. Like, really? So they brought in a surgeon to teach them how to wash their hands. I thought that was pretty good. Then they also determined the type of pillow and mattress that led to the best night's sleep for each rider. And then another one, which is kind of funny, they painted the inside of the team's truck white, which would help them find little spots of dust that would normally slip by unnoticed, but it could over time degrade the performance of these like super high-end bikes. And as they tied together all of these different 1% improvements, Brailsford knew that the results would come, and he said, I think we can win a gold medal or the Tour de France in 5 years. And it actually ended up that the results came, but they came faster than anyone could have imagined. So just 5 years after he took over, the British cycling team dominated the road and track cycling events at the 2008 Olympics, where they won 60% of the gold medals available. So they went from being completely mediocre in 2003 and 2004 to then in 2008 winning 60% of the gold medals available. And then 4 years later, when the Olympic Games came to London, they raised the bar as they set 9 Olympic records and 7 world records. And it was team success, but it was also individual success, because that same year, Bradley Wiggins became the first British cyclist to win the Tour de France. And the next year, another one of his teammates won the race, and they would go on to win in 2015, 2016, and 2017, giving the British team 5 Tour de France victories in 6 years. So it's just an incredible story of how small improvements accumulate into such remarkable results. And when I was listening to kind of that story that James Clear was telling on that podcast, it made me think a lot about you, and it made me think about 2021, because as we've talked about previously, like now that we're literally 9 days away from 2021, and it's a really good time to think about who's the person that you want to be in 2021, and how, what do you want to achieve? And, you're maybe asking this question of, well, how can I replicate this 1% better approach in my own life to help me with my own goals? And I think the best way to think about it is what Brailsford described when he was describing the strategy. And it's basically take something that you want to do or something that you want to improve, break it down into all of its smaller parts, and then make 1% improvements every day in all of those areas. Because when you group all of those together, that's when the results come, and they will come eventually, and they will come in a big amount. So let's pretend that in 2021, you want to do a half Ironman. Okay, so that's something that you want to do. Let's break it down into all of its smaller parts. So exercising, there's swimming, there's biking, and there's running. You can also try within that, trying different workouts within those. You can try the timing of your workouts, right? So you can try different times of day with those different activities. You can test out the different clothing that you're wearing. You can test out the location that you're running or biking or swimming. Other areas, kind of bigger areas in terms of recovery, with your sleep. You can try going to bed at different times. You can try different nighttime routines. You can try different morning routines. You can try stretching that can help you with recovery. You can even combine them. You can do a single stretch before you go to bed, right? So you can start to kind of tie some of these together. Then nutrition, drinking more water, being more hydrated, eating less processed foods, trying different proteins, trying different gels if you're running longer distances or biking longer distances. And one other area is just kind of managing your time. Training for a half Ironman requires a lot of time. So, if you can find those 1% improvements and eliminating time that you're doing other activities, that gives you more time to plan, to do your workouts, to recover, and to make sure that you're doing that. So I would encourage you to try and think about what are some ways you can eliminate screen time, planning your workouts ahead so that you don't need to think about when you're going to do them. You can just show up and execute. So what I'm trying to do here is just kind of give you an idea of some of the bigger areas that you can look to if you want to complete a half Ironman for 1% improvements. This was just a really quick list that I came up with. And that's kind of where I'm at with it. And I do just want to close with a question for you, which is, where are the 1% improvements in your life? So that's what I have for you today. I hope that was helpful. I hope you all have an amazing day.